The Tainted Glove Network presents It's Getting Drafty in Here with Magnificent Stan, a show about nothing.
Well, what's the show about? About nothing.
With special guests.
We're on the clock. Then when are we sending in the ticket?
I already sent the ticket.
Hello, welcome to the first episode of It's Getting Drafty in Here. I am your host, Brian Magnificent Stan Schmeranzer, and I'm happy to be here. This is going to be a great show. It's going to be about drafting random nonsense, sports, movies, books, anything. We're going to do foods. Today's episode is the Chicago Sports G.O.A.T. Which Chicago athletes do you think are the finest, the cream of the crop in sports? So today I have my guests, which are actually the people that are helping me produce this series of podcasts, the Tainted Glove. We have Yumper.
Hello, gentlemen.
Essentially my podcasting Yoda. He's been teaching me the ropes here about how everything's going. He's got a show himself called the Yumper and Svo at the Show, where they do a great job going over movies and mixing it up. We also have Svo on the show. How you doing, Svo?
BS, what's up, buddy?
Going on, pal? He is also the other half of Yumper and Svo.
The lesser half. The lesser half.
If you must. We also have the Godfathers, the OGs of the Tainted Glove Network. We got our guy Aloha, Mr. Hand, who is apparently a gentleman of interesting character.
It's questionable character.
Questionable.
Right.
I apologize.
It's questionable character.
As you can tell, I'm a tiny bit nervous.
Fellas, how's
here.
it going?
Right on. And then we got the Reverend K-Fids, the other half of the Tainted Glove, who also hosts the Pinwheels and Ivy
You're
show.
fine. No worries.
We're happy to have you, buddy.
Thanks for having me on. Should be a good night. We're going to draft some goats. And we cannot, though, vote for Goat Boy, which is different. If you're a fan of Jim Brewer.
Damn it. Screwed up my whole draft strategy.
I know. Remember the 80s. That's all. We'll go
Okay.
there.
So let's jump right into it. We did a randomizer recently where we created the draft order. All of our drafts will be in snake order, meaning if you're not a fantasy football nerd like the rest of us, whoever drafts last in each round will go first in the next round. Aloha, Mr. Hand, with possibly the easiest pick in the history of the world. Unless he wants to shock the world with some type of sleeper.
There's an obvious one right there that you can't really ignore, but there's another candidate I was thinking of that, his leadership skills are just so off the chart that you can't quantify it. You can't quantify him because his leadership skills are so off the chart. But
you're going to go Tony La Russa at one?
I was just about to say that.
I am going to go with...
Does he speak Spanish?
I am going with, as you can see, I am holding up a piece of memorabilia. It is the December 10th, 1984 Sports Illustrated cover that announces "A Star is Born. Michael Jordan lights up the NBA." This is who it has to be. As I've said for years, there are only two untradeable, untouchable athletes in Chicago sports in my lifetime. He was number one, and I would fully expect number two.
Uh-oh.
Oh, man. The podcast monster got him.
We're off the rails already, man. 4 minutes
His neighbor
in.
killed his internet.
Well, let's fill for Michael Jordan for Pete over here.
I mean, I think Jeff Stone probably leaves the least amount of explaining of any pick, just because it is the GOAT of GOATs.
Hey, Brian, can you do me a favor? Can you put an asterisk next to Michael Jordan in that field? Because he's not just the Chicago sports GOAT. He is the GOAT of GOATs.
Yeah.
GOAT of GOATs.
So,
that is correct.
I think Michael Jordan with the first overall pick deserves an asterisk.
Means 9 of them.
Stop me if I'm wrong here, Yump and Fids.
Okay, stop.
Okay, so I'm wrong. Then get rid of the asterisk.
Wait, what? Oh no, you told me to. I was just doing what you told me to do.
I mean, you got not only sports, but he was so damn popular. He dug into everything: movies,
Mhm.
colognes, obviously the shoes.
He was also the only one that could defeat the Monstars.
Him and Bill Murray. I mean,
McDonald's.
And Dennis Nedry from Jurassic Park. So
Also, Coca-Cola had its own song for him, like Mike.
it's true.
Yep.
Gatorade too.
Through the Gatorade campaign. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the main guys to do the Gatorade campaign. Yeah,
He's the GOAT of all goats, not just the Chicago GOAT.
I mean, you think back to the commercials from Spike Lee. Do you know? I mean, you got a whole pop culture. The idea of marketing athletes started. He is the alpha and the omega of it. He started it. He was it. Like it was the first major marketed player that just took everybody's imagination. I mean, people that didn't even watch basketball had Jordan jerseys. Like it was insane.
Well, and you think about how close it was to not being that huge, just because he took a chance on Nike at that point. Nike wasn't much at that point, and he said, "Hey, I'll help you grow this," and they let him do whatever the hell he wanted, and he took it over.
And imagine you're the Trailblazers and you took Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan.
he hated the idea of signing with Nike. He wanted to sign with Adidas, and his mother made him take the visit to Beaverton, and it was all history from there. He did not want to sign with Nike.
It's kind of like when Bobby Hurley didn't want to sign with ITZ.
But also when Bobby Hurley didn't want to wear a seatbelt.
oh god.
Ow.
But with Jordan, it's just amazing that Jordan is still talked about of how his greatness. Everybody knows he owns the Charlotte Hornets, but the man has no social media presence. But yet his greatness is still known to the newer generation, not just because of the LeBron Jordan debate, but just for the fact of his impact on the game. His shoes still sell out. Number 3 is synonymous with greatness.
Yeah.
And everybody talks about 6-0 in the finals.
Did any of you guys ever read Bill Simmons' book of basketball?
Not only have I read it, but I waited in line for 5 hours to meet him to have him sign it. Bill Simmons, before he became a Tool, is one of my all-time favorite sports writers.
Agreed. He dug into pop culture and tied it into sports so well. But in the book, he went over how Michael Jordan had what was it? I think he called it the "fuck you, I'm taking over" gene, where it didn't matter who you were. I was taking that game. Like he was that guy that just, it did not matter who the hell you were. He was going to beat you no matter what.
It was appointment television when he was playing on primetime. You knew where you needed to be. He still gets $400 a month from me every month when I buy sneakers.
I have never bought a pair of Jordans in my entire life. I got weird feet, but
me neither. Actually,
yeah,
it was flights. I bought flights. I don't know what was it. It was an obsession with flights.
I bought the PF Flyers.
I was an old man early. I was all into New Balance.
You had you love the Karl Malone catapults.
Yes.
Did they serve some sort of orthopedic function?
Yes. Let's not dig into that.
Gear, amazing.
Right. The only pair of expensive gym shoes I ever had growing up was I had the Grandma Ma's.
Oh, well, that's
those were fantastic.
You just made Fidz's day, because here's exactly where he's going to go next. He's going to say UNLV running rebel legend is what he's going to say next.
No, that's not.
Let's bring Jerry Tarkanian in here. Hear what he has to say.
I love Tark. Those teams are fun to watch.
Funny story. So I taught his grandson, Alex, and Alex. We have a Jaws project we do every year in our film class, and they chose to do the scene where they're chumming into the water, and he says, you're going to need a bigger boat. And well, Tark, in all of his glory, decided that in the video he was going to actually play the shark. So there's actually a project that exists where he pops out of the water. Jerry Tarkanian's grandson, Jerry, the shark, Tarkanian, his grandson pops out of the water and just goes, "Arr, I'm a shark," and pops back under the water.
Did you see how they portrayed him in the Lakers show on HBO?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are stories, man. There are stories around this town.
Fitz, I was going to say, Fitz, you're close to that program, and you know more than probably anybody here. But how dirty was that program in the 90s?
It wasn't any less dirty than the other programs. It was more showy. So people, there was a lot of because of who the type of players that Tarkanian brought in. He brought in the kids from the rough areas, and it wasn't as marketable as some of the other schools like Kansas, who didn't. And so it just became one of those things. I mean, it's weird to see Mike Krzyzewski's career kind of build and that Duke, UNLV kind of thing, that especially those last few years where like things started to fall apart here. But I mean, the only guy that sued the NCAA and got paid $1 million for it. So not as dirty as one would think, just as dirty by the media.
And I see Aloha Mr. Hand is back with us. We've been filling with some UNLV stories and some shoe stories. And then Svo did ask us to put an asterisk.
What's up, fellas? I'm back.
So Svo had asked us to put an asterisk next to Michael Jordan's name because he's the greatest of all time, not just the greatest in the history of Chicago. And that's a fair addition there.
Yeah, but fair enough.
Absolutely. All right, you ready, Svo, for second pick here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I need to waste much time here with the second overall pick. Like Michael Jordan was the consensus number one, so we're gonna go with sweetness.
Yeah,
the greatest running back in NFL history, Walter Payton.
I felt like that was the consensus number two, so that that works out.
This is where it diverges from here too, though. At this point,
yeah, absolutely. But Walter is, still to this day one of my favorite players to watch video and highlights from. And I remember my old man taking me to the car show at McCormick Place, and like on his shoulders before I was a fat ass, and like getting to reach out and touch Walter's hand as a little kid amongst this crowd of people. And I'll always love Walter. I don't hold it against him that his son went to Miami.
His son is a very good dude. I actually grew up knowing him. We went to different schools, but we used to see him on like group trips with like the schools in the district.
Yeah, and he didn't play football at St. Viator till like his senior year.
No, he played early on. I played against him actually. He played freshman year.
Yeah, he played before high school though. Actually, he played for the Pegasus soccer.
He was a soccer player.
He was one of the best under 18 soccer players in the country. Yeah. I sacked him.
Yeah.
It was cool though.
You sacked him.
He went to Viter. I went to Hersey, and I only played a couple games of football. I hurt my knee, but I sacked him, and I looked over, and Walter was like an assistant coach. So it was kind of cool. Like see Walter Payton while you're playing football. It's kind of cool to see Walter Payton on the sidelines.
I had a homer at Hersey my senior year, actually.
Nice.
It's got to be intimidating as hell, though, too.
Oh yeah, Everybody wants to show up, and
because exactly.
And the thing about Peyton too, about his son was, for some reason they made him a quarterback the first couple of years, and then they made him a running back like sophomore, junior year, and he really took off. But yeah, good guy. The thing I love about Peyton is not only was he one of the greatest running backs in the history of the game, arguably the best, he did everything. The hits, the blocks, he caught the ball, he threw the ball. He did everything. The guy was a damn machine. And
he took a beating over his life.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He also gave a beating, though, too. He ran hard.
Yeah, he used to run people over, man. He did not care who was in front of him. He was going to take them on.
He bounced. It was so cool. Just when he would bounce off a defender, it was always so fun to watch. And
it was almost like a pirouetting style. It was like a ballet style. Yep.
We
used to punch people in the face.
We actually at Rita, we had one of our baseball coaches and football coaches there. His name's Jay Standering. His kid played for Wisconsin, and his other kid played for Northwestern. But he has one of his good friends is Mike McCoy, who used to play. He was an end for the Green Bay Packers, and he came and spoke to us one year at baseball camp, and he was talking to us about like just drive and professional passion, and he talked about Walter Payton and how they were playing the Bears, and he goes, saw Peyton run up the sideline, so he got in front of him, and he said the next thing he remembers is Walter Payton's foot just going over his chest and running into the end zone. He's like, he totally just barreled over me, and this guy's like 6'5". He's like, Peyton just completely blasted me,
took me over.
Yeah, he goes, I never got hit that by hard by any human in my life. Wow. He goes, that's how good he was.
And then the stories of him going up the hill and his training regiment was just bonkers.
And his house was right there on Palatine. You could see, like, whenever I'd go to Willow Creek with my dad, you'd see the house right up there on the road.
We used to go trick or treating in his neighborhood, and they always gave out the thing I remember about him. They always gave out like the full like giant-sized like Snickers bars at his house on Halloween.
The hill was in Barrington, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
that's
lived
what-
in Barrington.
He lived. Yeah, that's where his house was by Willow
Yeah.
Creek, that big old
Mhm.
church.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to the next one. K-Fitz, what you
So
got?
this was. Oh, go ahead.
This is the off the rails pick. 'Cause
Yeah,
it
this
could
is
be,
where we-
there's so many options.
And for me, obviously, this is going to go for my demographic as well, and I'm sure Yump will agree, as we're both Cub fans. But for me, there's probably, I mean, there's been a lot of guys that I've been a huge fan of, and as far as sports in Chicago, but there is no single individual player that I could say has impacted and drew me in, especially as much as over the course of my lifetime, especially in those more impressionable days, I guess you'll call it. And so I would sit there even when I remember being 4 years old, sitting in my great grandma or my great aunt Zell's house in Mississippi when I go visit, just sitting down drinking a Coke from the bottle, big tall bottle, just to make sure every afternoon when I was visiting we would watch Ryan Sandberg take the field and play for the Cubs. And Ryan Sandberg for me was without a doubt the most influential and impactful player. I mean, the things that he did, I had a poster on my wall, and the Speak Softly Carry a Big Stick poster. I used to intentionally deface Steve Sachs pictures and paintings if I could, just because I hated him so much, because he was the rival National League second baseman. The consistency of the way he played. I mean, he went 123 straight games, 584 chances without making an error. He just played the game the way that I appreciate it, and especially that time period. He just was everything. He was the household name, and everything that I did, whether it was how I focused on as a player myself, how I focused as hard as I possibly could to be a great defender, because I understood how important that was as being a multifaceted player. And I would emulate his stance. And when me and my dad would play wiffle ball, that was the stance I'd always emulate. So there's just everything about Ryan Sandberg drew me into being a Cubs fan. And as a fifth generation Cub fan, we all have our own players that we loved, and Sandberg will always be the first and the one that really kind of meant it all for me.
Yeah, he was something else, man. What's funny about Sandberg is if he played today, he would get beat up by the analytics people because he doesn't get on base as much as but I mean, second baseman could hit 40 homers, could steal 30, 40 bases. And then the defense, he's bonkers player.
Yeah, he was very, very good on defense, but he wasn't as flashy as some would say. He never dove for a ball. That was like everyone. That's always I was told about, like, oh, you like Ryan Sandberg? He doesn't dive for balls, and I'm like, who gives a shit? He catches them.
Yeah, he perfected the backhand.
He never gets his uniform dirty.
Yeah, that was
he would always backhand and short hop, that long hop across the diamond. I used to love it too. It's actually, we worked on in practice even as a coach. That backhand, being able to skip it like you're throwing a rock across a pebble across the lake, just one hopper, perfect.
Yeah,
get rid of it quick.
I think I told you guys this story. Like, my dad used to take me to Sox Park a lot. When I was younger, and I grew up loving Joey Cora. Like Joey Cora, I played second base and I caught, all the way through college. So Joey Cora was my dude growing up. And then I happened to see Ryan Sandberg on TV, and that's why I became a Cub fan, was just to watch him play. And when he retired in '94, it broke my heart. But when he came back, I was so happy, even though it wasn't like his best years, but it was, awesome. And then to finally meet him later, he's put a big impact on, just not just the sports city of Chicago, but also in terms of, he kind of revolutionized the second base position as a power hitting position.
He did. Yeah, there really were, up until that point. I mean, you hadn't seen anything like him at second base in decades.
And he was a non-steroid guy in an era of steroids too. I mean, and he was very vocal against, especially after he retired, though. His Hall of Fame speech was beautiful to me, when he called out the cheaters in the game, and just the way that he knows that he played. I mean, he's the guy that can look himself in the mirror. I know he has a reputation of being kind of a dick, but you know what? It's okay. I mean, his played ball the way that he did. I mean, he's from Montana, so comes from a hard neck place. I know that his parents and him he had an Aaron Rodgers kind of relationship with his family. I heard, from what I heard too, at one point. But he's been such a great guy for with the Cubs organization when he was managing. I think was he in Iowa?
Yeah,
a little bit.
He actually went up Peoria, and then I think he went up to Iowa.
Yeah, that was a very different him. I know he was very good with the fans. He was always, I know whenever they were playing New Mexico, Albuquerque, my dad used to sing the national anthem before the Albuquerque Dukes game, or whatever they're called now, Isotopes or whatever. And my dad would always gravitate and talk, when they were in town, and say, hi, hey, and they would talk. all the time. He's just a good guy.
He was also,
his personality.
He was also a really good. He was also a really good teammate. I mean, he shared his wife with.
I was gonna make that joke. You beat me to it.
And Dave Martinez.
Only Swell will bring that up.
And Davey Martinez, too.
Rafael Palmeiro.
Yeah, Palmeiro too. Yeah.
Girardi too, apparently.
Oh.
Oh,
boy.
Girardi, too? I never knew that one.
Yeah,
Cindy
that was
Sandberg.
I don't think I've ever heard that one either.
Slam piece, Cindy Sandberg. Oh, yeah.
yeah, Girardi.
I did ask Dave Martinez about it one time.
Oh boy.
Point blank said, hey, how was Cindy Sandberg?
No wonder they say you have questionable character, man. You're gonna ask Dave Martinez that question? Come on, buddy.
I was in what is now the Bullpen Sports Bar when I did it, when Davey Martinez was playing right field for the White Sox.
Wow. All right, let's go on to the next one, which is me. I had one in mind. Hey, Fids, with the passion, I'm changing it. I'm gonna get a little personal. I'm gonna go Frank Thomas. Now, I was a baseball fan growing up, but up until the early 90s, I really didn't pay much attention to it. I more watched basketball because Michael Jordan was on the TV and Michael Jordan could fly, and I'm 10 years old. Frank Thomas changed the way I watch sports. I mean, that guy was, whenever he got up, you watched. Even when he was drawing 3 walks before he was hitting a 430-foot homer, guy is the best hitter, in my opinion, in the history of Chicago. Nobody, I don't think we'll ever see a guy that can get on base and hit for power at the levels that guy was able to do it. Obviously, his glove was as good as his ability to run record labels, but yeah, Frank Thomas was my guy, and I'm going to go with him with my first pick. And my love for the White Sox keeps growing and growing and growing to the point where I now have, second year in a row, I have a 40-game plan in the park, and it's all because of him. I mean, I loved Harold Baines too, but Frank Thomas was my guy, and yeah, I had another pick in mind, but wanted to give Frank that honor.
That's a good pick. Frank was compared a lot to Ted Williams, at least when I was growing up. I know just for hitting point, his pure hitter, probably one of the best, like that combine both power and average. He was very consistent when healthy.
Place more emphasis on OPS that they do now. In the 90s, they would have considered him the greatest player, him and Bonds, to be the 2 best hitters ever.
Should have been a 3-time MVP winner.
Yes.
Giambi.
So I
actually should. I would say it should have been a 4-time
because of the strike year.
At his numbers,
he won.
I hate to say it this way, but if you look at his numbers in 2006 with Oakland, that's another MVP season there. I know Justin Morneau won, but I would say Frank was the MVP that year.
White Sox legend Justin Morneau.
and Thomas also kind of, when he went to Oakland, he changed his approach. He became just a pull hitter at that point, and he just was ripping shit down the line left and right.
Yep.
All right.
If I'm gonna make fun of Ryan Sandberg, I gotta nitpick Frank Thomas here from an absolute terrible teammate, from what I hear. Bo Jackson's autobiography just rips Frank apart as a teammate in the locker room. So
okay, the only thing else, I don't doubt that, but Bo was no picnic either.
Yeah, Bo was a little rough.
Bo's a prick. You could talk to My Sox Summer about that one.
I know. I've had my encounters with Bo too. So I was doing an autograph signing that Bo was at. He was scheduled to sign at noon, right? So I show up there at 11:15, and I run into Harold. And he's like, "Why are you here?" I said, "Oh, I'm here to get Bo." He's like, "Bo already left." I'm like, "What? He's scheduled to start at noon." He came in at 9, said, "I want to sign now." Signed then and left. So I had to get my money back.
I've heard multiple stories like that over the years. Like any charges astronomical amounts of money for signings,
and he won't sign. Yeah, and he won't sign the The picture with the shoulder pads and the bat, he won't sign that. He won't sign anything with what's his name from Auburn, the other Heisman winner quarterback. Jameis, is it Winston?
Cam
Winston.
Newton?
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton. Thank you. It was Cam Newton.
Jameis
He
is
won't
a
sign
Florida State
anything
coach.
with Cam Newton on it.
I'll say this about Big Frank.
I don't blame him on that one.
Big Frank, a couple like last year or 2 years ago, me and my fiance, we went to Le Cave here for brunch on Mother's Day, and it's a really nice little thing. It's like an all-you-can-eat brunch. Like it's awesome. Like you just eat all day. Well, we were literally at the table right next to Frank Thomas and his wife or girlfriend or both, whatever. And I can tell you at least from that, because again, we're close enough to be a fly on the wall. You know, you could tell a lot how someone treats their service industry. Those in the service industry, especially here in Vegas. And he was absolutely the coolest dude ever towards his server. People were, they would come over and talk to him, and they took pictures. And he was, it was smiles. And, even when people left, he was just right back to, I didn't hear him go, "Oh, that dumb son of a bastard, leave me alone, blah, blah, blah." He didn't grumble. He just went back to like enjoying his brunch with his significant other. And it was like, so I mean, that one kind of stood to me. I'm like, wow, it's pretty cool. And actually, when I left, I didn't want to bug him. Carrie's my fiance's like, "Why don't you say hi to him?" I'm like, "I'm not gonna say hi." No, he's eating his I texted KB. I'm like, "Hey, I shouldn't bother Frank Thomas, right? You would hate that too." And he's like, "Yeah, dude, that's the dick move." I'm like, "Okay, all right, cool." So I did.
Well, and I heard the same thing, that he was nice to people at his brewery.
Jen met him at his brewery. His beer sucks.
Yeah, I met him at his brewery.
Yeah, his beer was garbage.
Oh,
the beer,
awful.
yeah, the beer was ass.
So he's not going to be drafted as a beer brewer
or a record label owner, but maybe as a
producer,
maybe as a dick pill.
Maybe as a boner pill guy.
That's working out pretty well. And he's also isn't he part of the Field of Dreams team now?
Oh yeah, him and a group own that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's in charge of it. He's the figurehead.
But now they're not going to do any more MLB games there, so he kind of.
They're not going to do any more MLB games next year because they're totally renovating it. But that doesn't mean they're not.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, they're trying to renovate it for Little League World Series to be held there.
Oh, that's a great idea. I love that place. I was there
he's a different guy since he got elected to the Hall of Fame.
I never had like a bad experience with him. I heard fans who said that he was kind of a dick from Frank when they would ask him for autographs, but I never had a bad experience with Frank. When I would see him at the games, he was always waved to fans and whatnot. Ozzie Guillen, on the other hand, he was a complete dick when I was a kid, but that's a whole nother story. That's another reason why I don't like Ozzie. But my wife is a huge Frank Thomas fan. She met him at his brewery. She said he was totally awesome. He took pictures with her and like hung out with them for a little bit.
That's awesome. Well, let's get on with the next pick here. We're running this first round pretty long here. Let's go, Yump. What do you got?
All right, so mine is actually caught between two people, but I'm going to go with the person's name who was synonymous with Bears football here that we kind of get tired of hearing about, and he's a Hall of Fame player, and he brought the Chicago Bears' only Super Bowl to Chicago, and that's Mike Ditka.
Yep.
Whether you like him or not, Ditka is, world famous. He was on fucking skits from SNL. He done a million commercials. He was really big on Monday Night Football. I mean, he's still known today.
Into fights with the media.
Yes, love getting into fights with the media. But he's like not just Chicago known. He's like across the nation, if not world known.
Yep. The cool thing about Ditka is how good of a tight end he was. He kind of revolutionized that position too, because at that point, like they were just blockers. He got in there and he took over. And we were talking about Walter Payton running people over. You watch clips of Ditka, he just totally just ravaged people
with a flat top.
Yep.
And wasn't he the first person or the first tight end elected to the Football Hall of Fame?
I'm pretty sure you're right. Yeah. What if not the first, maybe the second, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen lists where it's got him 3 best tight ends of all time. I don't agree with that, but what you got?
Who was it? Kellen Winslow and John Mackey in front of him.
Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates.
Yeah.
Shannon Sharp.
I think I queued it up right, but this is an old one.
Dad, come on. You got a wife at home. Think about that.
I've heard Ditka.
Your knackwurst is almost ready, Todd, so that you can fully enjoy tuning into the Bears. I'm sure they're gonna kick ass, darling. They're the best. But you know
It
something?
is. This is the best.
You're my dicka. My dicka. My dicka.
You can't go wrong with that one.
I mean, that whole sketch is based on Mike Ditka. I mean, that's all they're doing is talking like Mike Ditka. All
So
it
good.
is.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Ditka.
Well, we got a sandwich pick here, Yumper. What do you got? You said you were trying to decide between two. You could pick.
Yeah. My next pick is gonna go to the men on the ice, and like I said, it was kind of a wedge pick between the two of them. But I'm gonna go with Patrick Kane. Brought 3 rings to Chicago in I think first time in 60 years. Pete, I could be wrong, maybe 50 years since the Hawks last one.
49.
49. Okay,
actually. So it was 61 to 2010.
Cool. And they won 3 rings in 6 years, right? Yep, 3 rings in 6 years.
Yes.
So Patrick Kane, he's picked number 1 when he was 18, and he's scoring goals and still playing well even today. So
yeah, right on. He I mean, in Chicago sports lore, those Blackhawks teams and the Bulls are the only 2 dynasties any of us have ever seen and probably will ever see. In the city. I mean, you could dig back to the Bears at the 30s, but outside of that, we haven't really had a run.
In reality, they were at Game 7 against the Kings away from 4 cups in 6 years.
Yep.
They should have won back to back. And when it's all said and done, Patrick Kane will go down as the best American-born hockey player in NHL history.
I think he's already there, to be honest.
Statistically, I think he's still got some ways to go to catch. I think it's Mike Modano, but he's not far, and he's still producing.
He's a good rider in the cap.
I think he's eclipsed Modano.
I mean, maybe I don't think statistically he has yet.
Yeah, Modano has him by. This article is from 2021. Modano has him by about 200 more points, but Kane scores more points per game than Modano. So that's as far as those statistics. He's looks like Modano is ahead.
I think Kane's got more hardware than Modano too.
Definitely more.
Oh, for sure. But Kane also had a guy named Jonathan Toews and Marian Hossa to help him.
And don't forget Duncan Keith.
But the whole team, all of those teams were stacked. Brent Seabrook and Marian Hossa and Duncan Keith and Nicholas Yarmouson. Like those teams were fun to watch, man.
Isn't Brett Hull the number 1 on that
for American born?
Yeah,
he's Canadian.
I think Canadian? I think Brett Hull's Canadian.
Okay, my bad. Sorry, I don't know hockey very well. Hockey's not my thing.
Derrick Henry just scored a touchdown for you, Fidz.
He's got 2 already. He's got 2, and he's already at 100 yards. He's killing it in the first half. I already won my one league. I'm up 1 point. That just put me over. Holy shit!
Yeah, Brett Hull was born in Belleville, Canada.
Okay, right on. Well, let's move on to the next one. I'm gonna go with the guy I was gonna get in the first round because he's still there. I'm gonna go Dick Butkus. He's as close to a literal bear that ever played for the Chicago Bears. I mean, you watch the clips of him.
I disagree.
Okay.
I was gonna say I disagree because Ditka, if you look at his face, he looks like the bear logo.
He does. He does. The Bears logo even has a mustache.
Yes.
A large forehead and a mustache.
5 head, if you will.
There you go. Now, Butkus, he didn't play that long. I mean, what was it, like 13 years, something like that? And
only like 7 or 8.
No, he played longer than that.
No,
I'm almost positive.
65 to 73.
Okay, my bad.
I think that's a fantastic pick because not only is he like from Chicago, like went to U of I.
Yep.
Like just that's a perfect pick right there.
Like true Chicago guy. Yep.
Also, social media darling.
Is that even?
Yes.
That's somebody.
It's totally it's totally him doing it. Like he
seriously.
He was on Comcast Sportsnet, NBC Sportsnet, their football show, That's all him. He said that his son helps him a little bit with like to post certain stuff, but everything that's written, it's him.
I'm just hoping he one day becomes the Iron Sheik on Twitter.
It was absolutely hilarious when he took over the Bears TikTok.
Yeah, when he had like shots of his pocket.
And then you can't forget that he was such a wonderful actor.
Yeah.
He replaced Reggie Theus on the TV show Hang Time on Saturday mornings on NBC.
It took you 36 minutes to get your Reggie Theus name drop in there. It took you 36 minutes.
I won the draft already.
He's also in Last Boy Scout, and then he was in Unnecessary Roughness.
He was also in a Jerry Lewis film called Cracking Up, where he was the guy that helped Jerry Lewis's character quit smoking. Every time that Jerry Lewis would try and light a cigarette, Dick Butkus would be in disguise and would pop out and punch him in the face. Like, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Like, he's like, how many, Dick Butkus is all calm. I mean, in the interview, he's like, so how many packs a day would you say you smoke? And Jerry Lewis's character's like, oh, I don't know, maybe 3, 4, 5, maybe might be five packs a day. And then all of a sudden, Butkus, 5 packs? Are you nuts? He's like just a big old he's literally at one point he's painted white as a statue, and he's like standing there as like a Greek statue. And Jerry Lewis tries to light up a cigarette, and he like comes out and pops him, punches him right in the face. It's called Cracking Up. Arguably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Jerry Lewis films of all time. Older Jerry Lewis too. He drops the F word a lot.
He would have been fantastic in Blazing Saddles as Mongo. I mean, nobody beats Alex Karras. He was freaking perfect.
Mongo.
But he would have fit.
He'd have been great.
Just remember, Mongo only pawn in Game of Life.
Such a good.
Do you watch Botchamania, Brian?
Yes.
When he goes, "Here comes Mongo." That's what I think about whenever I hear that.
Oh, poor Mongo. Maybe we'll give him a spot in the draft tonight. All right, K-Fids, what you got, buddy?
All right. Well, for me, again, I guess it just happens to be falling to me, but I'm going to go back to an emotional pick too, because this is now I did select my favorite Cubs player. For me, someone that meant a great deal. I'm going to go with Ernie Banks with my next pick as Mr. Cub, my dad's favorite player of all time. He's a 14-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, a Gold Glove winner, home run leader twice, RBI leader twice. He's retired. He's in the Hall of Fame, and he's genuinely one of the most personable, happy ambassador for the game of baseball. I mean, the Cubs, when we were going through our lovable loser millennium, the fact that he would constantly be the smiling face. Let's play two. Let's have a baseball's. It's play ball, not work ball. And
it's a beautiful day for a ball game.
Yeah, and I sit there. I used to watch him on the old Home Run Derby TV show. It's a home run or run out on Home Run Derby. Ernie Banks, Rocky Colavito.
Like that field on that looks so cheesy, man.
It's a fake picture too. They put like fake ivy up and everything.
It was a TV studio, wasn't it?
It was. I mean,
no,
the home run. It was a field.
It was an actual park. Okay.
Yeah, it was an actual park. Yeah, but just Ernie Banks, what he meant to my father. When he passed away, that was a really rough time. My dad, that really hit my dad pretty hard. Just because it's his favorite player. I mean, we have all of baseball cards he's ever had. My dad has in his safe at home, things like that. It meant everything to my dad, and of course, what he meant to helping with baseball's transition through the color barrier, obviously, as just as important. I mean, he played in the Negro Leagues. He played, at a time when it wasn't that easy to be a black athlete, and so that also stands to me because he took. I'm sure he wore a lot of verbal abuse, and that smile always stick. That smile was always there, and so that to me, and performing at a high level, that to me just makes him just an absolute wonderful pick for me.
Another guy that played a position that wasn't known for power or even hitting at all. I mean, he moved over to first eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but shortstop that hit 500 homer. Come on.
And just FYI, this draft already has the 2 Chicago players who won back-to-back MVPs.
Boom.
Frank and Ernie.
Yep.
All right.
That sounds like a Sesame Street sketch too, Frank and Ernie.
What you got for the next one here, Svo?
All right. So Fids made a couple really good emotional picks.
Yep.
Players that he connected to. And everyone but Pete's probably going to give me shit here. This is going to be a reach and it's going to be a stretch. But I'm going with my favorite baseball player of all time. number 56 on the field, number 1 in our hearts, Mark Burley. Perfect game, no hitter, just a save in the 2005 World Series. Just
Drunk save.
Just a fun guy in the locker room. You know, he came in that relief appearance and he said, like, I already had a 6-pack of beer in me. I had the pleasure of being at his perfect game. Mark Burley is my absolute all-time favorite White Sox, and that's why I'm making this pick.
Perfect. That's you know, I don't want to turn this into a contest. I want you to speak passionately about what you're picking here. So that's perfect. I love Mark Burley. I actually have a funny little story about Mark Burley. He so the company I work for used to mainly be a lawn care business, and we had 2 markets. We had Chicagoland area and we did St. Louis. And the town that our offices and our warehouse was in St. Louis, there's like 30 Burleys that live there. So we'd go there and I'd have to call these customers sometimes, talk to them about their lawns, and I would end up talking to them about Mark Burley's, how he, how the game, the perfect game, World Series, all the awesome moments of Burley's career. I would discuss with his family members. And that was just kind of a cool thing for me.
I can't add anything else. I think Bo summed it up perfectly.
He was such a genius too on the mound because he never had like crazy stuff. He just put it where it needed to go. He had the cutter. He had the claw changeup.
Sorry.
What are you laughing at?
And if you know that you had something to do later on that
That's
night,
what she said.
That Burley was going to pitch an hour and 45 minutes and the game would be over.
Love that.
In and out of the park.
I was at the game he pitched in early 05. It was an hour 39. It was against
Who was the other
Seattle.
pitcher?
He gave up 3 hits. I could tell you who he gave up all the hits to. Same person got all 3 hits. It was Ichiro.
Oh,
Go
singles? All singles?
Funny. It was like April. It was mid-April of 05.
I wish I was young. I had just gotten married. I wish I had been able to go to games in that mid 2000s when they won, before they won, after they won. I didn't go to games for a number of years just because of financial difficulties. But yeah, I loved every minute of that guy's career, man. Even when he went to Miami and Toronto, I loved every minute of it. I always rooted for Mark Burley as well. But yeah, let's go Aloha. You got 2 here.
Absolutely agree. All right. And these 2, one was a huge thing for me when I was a kid, because to me it signaled a new beginning. Little did I know how fucking wrong I would be. And the other, so the first one I'm going with is Carlton Fisk. Just because at the time Fisk came here, he had already hit the home run in the 75 World Series, and you saw it every week on NBC Game of the Week as part of their intro and all that stuff. Yes, I'm old enough to remember NBC Game of the Week. Some of you might not have even been born when it was on.
I remember.
But to me, because the Reinsdorf group, actually it was the Einhorn group at the time. Jerry was in the background. It was Eddie Einhorn who was in the lead.
Mm-hmm.
This was their first thing. This was their big free agent signing. And I thought, foolish me, that, they're actually going to spend money. Little did we know. But to me, Fisk always stood out. And having met him numerous occasions, I can say that I think he's bipolar, because there's sometimes when he's very down to earth, easy to talk to. Other times where, holy Christ, man, did he quit smoking yesterday or something? Because he's a bear. But I would have to say Carlton Fisk is my first one, because I thought it was giving the White Sox legitimacy at the time that they signed him as a free agent.
And when they signed him, they got him for like nothing too, wasn't that?
Yeah, Boston had missed sending him a contract by a day. So he was declared a free agent.
So, Pete, I have a question to ask you about Carlton Fisk.
Hmm?
Considering he only played a short time in Boston and then played, I think, over 10 years with the Sox.
13.
And yeah, he went into the Hall as a Red Sox. Do you think that was more for profitability, or do you think he just really loved the Red Sox?
He's a New Hampshire boy. That's one thing you got to remember.
Mhm.
He's originally from New Hampshire, so I'm sure that played a factor in it. Plus, let's be blunt about something. With the autograph explosion and the memorabilia explosion, what is he going to make more money as in the Hall of Fame? If you look at it,
Yeah.
it's the same thing with Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson only spent 5 years with the Yankees. He spent like 10 with Oakland, and then a stop in Baltimore and a stop with the Angels in between there. So, but the money's with the Yankees. So that was a calculus that played in until Wade Boggs got carried away with it and was like willing to go in with the Tampa Bay hat on because they were going to pay him all kinds of money.
Yeah, it was in his contract.
That's why, right. That's why now it's like the Hall of Fame hat thing. They consult with the player.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the player gets what they want.
Yeah.
It's like
For
Andre
example,
Dawson going in with the Expos hat.
Yes.
Even though
Yeah, because he really wanted to go to Cubs.
When everybody knows he's going to win as a Marlin.
Or Red Sox.
That was the example I was going to give. Andre Dawson with the Expo hat. I believe he wanted to go in with a Cub hat on.
He did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And also, then there's other players like Maddox, for example. He just couldn't choose. That's why he did the no hat look. Because if you look at the plaques in the Hall of Fame, if the player has a hat, it's a straightforward. If the player doesn't have a logo on the hat, it's a profile.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that's part of the reason why he went in with Boston. I think he should have went in with the White Sox because of time served, but that's neither here nor there. And the other one is going back to the ice, and it is not my favorite player, I would say, but the significance of him arriving here changed everything, and that was Marian Hossa. Because Marian Hossa, I don't care what anyone says, Marian Hossa is by a mile the greatest free agent signing in any sport, in any Chicago sports team's history. By a mile. It's not even close. This is the guy who brought all the kids together and made them into men and led them to 3 Stanley Cups. And as was mentioned earlier, they should have probably had a fourth except for that overtime in Game 7 against the Kings in 2014.
Good pick. He was just wasn't exactly what he did on the ice, but what he did to make everybody better. And it was so weird what happened to him towards the tail end when he had the mysterious injuries and whatnot.
Yeah, he has that skin disease where he gets like
the skin disease or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's like blisters develop on his body. It's kind of sucks for him because he could still probably go.
Hives, right?
Yeah, it's like blisters develop on his body from sweat or something like that. It's
wow.
I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah.
No, Marian Hossa, awesome pick.
Yep, that's actually perfect. He was on my list towards the middle. So yeah, no, I agree. I only had, and like I said, I don't really know hockey that well, but I only had 3 Hawks on my list, and he was one of them. So, okay, Svo, what do you got?
I want to spread the wealth out here, and I know this is not going to be popular again, but the summer of '98, I got to go Sammy Sosa.
Yep, that's a good one.
Jumpers in shambles.
No, I was gonna take Sosa.
Gonna jump through the screen and strangle you.
In shambles right now.
No, I was gonna take Sosa.
Everyone in this room knows that I love the White Sox and I'm a White Sox fan, but there is no denying the electricity that everyone felt that summer, the McGuire and Sosa home run chase and what it meant for baseball. I don't think the MLB would be around if that home run chase it probably would be, but like they saved the MLB that summer with that home run chase, and everyone
and then they
loved it.
hung him out to dry afterwards.
And then they hung him out to dry. I loved it, and like I remember, and Fids will know exactly what I'm talking about. But the Hooters at Woodfield used to do shuttles to Wrigley Field, and I snuck out with my homies one day, and we took the shuttle to Wrigley Field to go see them play the Pirates. I was grounded for something stupid I did, as everyone knows on Yumper and Svel. There's always something stupid that I did to get grounded. I was grounded. I wasn't supposed to go out. I snuck out. We went into the city, and then we missed the shuttle home to Hooters. We had to call my aunt, who lived on 23rd and Oakley, to pick us up and bring us back to the suburbs. So I got grounded even longer. But Sammy Sosa was a super fun watch that whole summer, and him and McGuire did a lot for baseball. That's why he's my pick.
Yeah, actually, so I was actually going to take him if he got down to my pick. Just the impact on baseball, him and McGuire, like you said, take out, the substances with it. I mean, that argument's kind of getting old, especially with Bud Selig in the Hall of Fame, and now that David Ortiz is in, the whole substance.
Ivan Rodriguez
is in.
We could do a whole episode on that stuff.
And
who cares? Everybody cheats. Pitchers use foreign substances. Batters use cork bats. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's something too.
I watch.
Yeah, but
I mean, you could say that about the Astros too. I think it's naive. People get so upset about the Astros. I just like Boo
and Altuve though.
The thing yesterday though, I'm sorry, but the thing yesterday on that shit was so stupid. Oh, a city that deserves it. Nah, fuck that city that deserves it. Like, what the hell are you talking about? They cheated in 2017. Just fucking say they cheated. They deserve it. No, deserve what? They fucking cheated.
They cheated in 19 too, by the way.
Yeah, they're fucking cheaters. It is what it is. They got away with it. You
know what? They cheated in the playoffs last year too against the White Sox. They shouldn't even went further. The White Sox win that series by default.
Larry Legend hit a home run. No, I'm just saying, just the way they try to do the narrative yesterday was so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad Dusty Baker won. I'm not the biggest Dusty Baker fan. I'm glad he finally got a ring. Whatever. But back to Sosa. Like, Sosa was first person to hit 60 home runs in 3 years. First person hit back-to-back 60 home runs, 1998 MVP. Basically, people went to Wrigley to see Sammy Sosa hit home runs, and the Cubs were dog shit in 99 and 2000 during those years. And they were still selling out, and that's kind of a bad trend because they kept selling out. But people went to see Sammy Sosa hit home runs, and that's how that ballpark made money.
Yeah. And beer. And beer.
That too.
And the funny thing about it, I'll say this. I have a major issue with the Hall of Fame voting. If you're going to let Bud Selig have a plaque and David Ortiz and Ivan Rodriguez and
what about the guys that use the greenie? What about the guys that use the greenies in the 80s too? Like you got like Mike Schmidt.
I'm not even going there because that's a fair point too.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's talking about cocaine.
How in the world can you say Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens don't belong in there?
Mm-hmm.
There is no argument you can make saying they don't belong in there because it's the sports writers who voted them all those awards, and it's the sports writers who put their nose in the air like, oh, we can't sully the Hall of Fame. Fuck you. You're the ones who created the problem by giving them all these awards when you knew they were fucking cheap.
It's also the sports writers who decide not to vote one year. Like, I don't want to vote for anybody. Like, it's fucking stupid. Then you should have a vote.
Well, and like, who cares if they juiced? Because pitchers were using foreign substances then too. Right? Like, you even the playing field, or you take the advantage.
That's a good argument. So, like, people always rag on the people who actually succeeded while juicing. What about the people that didn't succeed while juicing? Jim
Anderson,
Jim Parquet for the White Sox. He fucking juiced, and he was like 150 pounds soaking wet, and he wasn't that good. Like, they juiced, and they were horrible. Ruben Sierra juiced and became bad. He had to lose weight to get good again.
Sammy was fun to watch, man. When he took that flag and ran into right field, like, that's like iconic, man. Like,
he was a showman.
That made me sick. That made me sick.
It makes you sick, but you still got to appreciate the gesture and the just like kind of what he did for those people in the bleachers. And I don't know if he gave a shit about them or not, but
that's my point. He's using a tragic event to make himself look like a fucking hero.
I mean, you could say that about
Trust me,
anything,
that
right?
fucker knew where the camera was every hour of the day.
Oh well, Sandberg mentioned that in his speech. He said, I play the game right. I don't look for that little that light every time I do something good."
I mean, I get it, but but Pete, you of all people, I love you, but you're the first one that, like, when we're talking about the White Sox, you're like, they run their team as a business, and if they're gonna run their team as a business, let Sammy run it as a business, man. And the more FaceTime you get on the camera, the more money you make.
Okay.
If the owners don't give a shit, why should you give a shit? So, like, yeah, Sammy knew where the camera was and he played it up, but fuck it, if that's gonna give me generational wealth for my kids, cool. Like,
Let's do it. I agree.
He was just a monster,
Okay,
Pete.
fair
The
enough.
Cubs created, and when he got the Cubs and MLB created that monster, and the Cubs didn't put a handle on it, and then they blamed everybody else when it kind of got out of control.
It's disgusting what they did to him.
But
let's be honest. He fucking dipped out during a baseball game. He literally said that he didn't sneak out, and he got caught on tape. Like he used a cork
Okay,
bat.
Fitz. Yeah, he took down a baseball game,
I
but
can only go
my
so
camera
far as to
dipping
say
out.
that he's the one that triggered his exit. Sammy finished the job himself.
not necessarily. They were trying to trade him to Arizona during
He left the
02.
game before it was over and lied to everyone, saying that it didn't happen, and then they had the receipts.
yeah, you can't do that.
Dude,
Can't
that's
do that.
just
That's totally
shit.
fine. But okay, so what does that have
And
to do
I'll
with
also
the
say
Ricketts
that
right now? Now it's not fucking
there's
welcome the
one
guy
other
back.
thing.
Can we just take a minute here?
He's got to admit that he cheated.
Can we
That's
just
all.
take a minute here, and this is exactly what Brian wanted when he came up.
Do you see
with
the
this
smile on my
podcast
face right now, guys?
idea. This is exactly what he's wanted, and you have succeeded in your
It
first.
it took like 55 minutes, but we got it.
Oh, the conversation's been great the whole time.
I don't agree with him owing the Ricketts anything. They
I'll
fucking
say
own the
one-
team.
I got one more thing to say about Sammy. This is the guy. This is the guy who talked. You talked about the business and everything else, but this is the guy who also in 2002 stepped away from the team for a weekend because his wife was having surgery on Monday. But so he took the weekend off. But on Monday, when she had the surgery, that fucker was in Milwaukee participating in the home run derby.
How much of this, and this is coming from a fellow White Sox fan, is your pure bitterness that George Bell wasn't as good as Sammy Sosa?
Oh my god, my dad still yells at me about George Bell every day.
None.
Every day of my fucking life, George
None.
Bell.
How good was Sammy when they traded him?
All I know is Kerry Wood was all of us at the end of Sammy Sosa's time as a Chicago Cub, taking a bat to his boombox. It took him till recently to get over it too. And I mean, Kerry Wood's he's older, he's more mature. He's not going to he puts things behind him because he's had nicer things to say. But nobody, you never got really there was never good stories coming out of that clubhouse with Sammy. Sammy had rules, and then everybody else had rules. Ryan Sandberg wrote about it in his book. Larry Himes created the monster. We know that. And Sammy, he just got too big for it. But in the end, he thought he was untouchable, and it backfired and blew up in his face. And he did not. The corked bat thing is probably more egregious than the the steroids that everyone else is using. The thing is, admit it. Just it's fine. Just say it and then move on. That's all. And he refuses to say that. He still refuses to say the corked bat was his. There's zero accountability.
Well,
that's the problem.
In terms of the corked bat, yeah, but he doesn't owe Tom Ricketts shit.
He doesn't. He owes you as a
Tom Ricketts
fan.
You don't owe me nothing.
When did the Ricketts family buy the team?
In 08.
After that.
And who was the
No,
ownership?
09.
Ownership during the biggest tenure of Sammy Sosa's career.
The Tribune.
The Tribune Company, right?
Tribune. Yeah.
Right? So in reality, he had a board of owners, not I just think the whole situation is jacked up.
And he had a media company.
Well, not just that. In terms of him owing them an apology, Fitz, the fucking Ricketts hired Manny Ramirez. He hasn't come out and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I failed 3 fucking tests to where I can't play baseball anymore for PEDs." But he was hired as a he was hired as a hitting coach in the minor leagues as a fucking coach. There's no excuse. If you don't like him, you don't like him. That's cool. Just come out and say you don't want him because you don't like his personality or whatnot. Just don't give me no bullshit about him having to apologize to what? Tom Ricketts wasn't even fucking paying attention out there. He was too busy getting loaded and making out with his ugly wife in the fucking outfield.
Yikes.
Oh God, yeah.
Man, that fertility drug, that was never a good thing. But fact
All right,
is,
guys, we got to keep moving.
That's a hot topic that'll probably eventually be answered because people have short memories anyway.
Could it be that Sammy wants too much money to appear there, and that's the whole root of the problem?
from what Kaplan has said, it's not it. Just he just wants. He doesn't want
Sammy,
anything. He just wants to come back and be well, have a day.
I think
they won't
Sammy
do it.
would appear for an all-you-could-eat mozzarella stick buffet. Like at this point, he
Yep.
just wants to be seen again.
He's just egos. He wants the ego back. Yeah. He's just weird.
Also, mozzarella sticks. God damn, I'm hungry. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
that
got
sounds
off topic there.
You know what? That's Uber Eats by the time we're done here. All right. I guess
All
this
right.
is me.
Yes,
is this
sir.
me?
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Well, I have gone Cubs twice, so I probably should refrain from picking Paul Ossenmacher and or Jim Essien. So
Gary
about
Scott,
Leon
baby.
Durham?
Gary Scott.
if I shy away from Kevin Ory, I think we can move to a guy that had.
What about Brooks Kieschnick?
Oh, nice. A guy that's to be honest, he's someone that is a legend for something that he did for such a short while. He and his roommate broke a barrier, if you will, when they were both rookies coming into camp. He came out of Wichita, Kansas. I mean, he only played 6 years as a player in the NFL, and yet is regarded by so many as one of the top running backs in the history of the game. He's made us all cry with his story. If we watched Billy D. Williams' portrayal of him, of James Caan, and I love Brian Piccolo. So we've all cried as a result of him. He was a 5-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler. He's been the rushing leader. He was rushing leader 2 years. He was like the 50th anniversary all-time team, the 100th anniversary all-time team. Bears number retired, consensus All-American. The dude set standards up and down the league and just couldn't stay healthy, unfortunately. And so I'm going to obviously take Gale Sayers.
Kansas Comet.
He's also one of the best kick returners ever.
I love this quote from Dick Buck.
That's what he
said earlier. Dick Buckus said he had the ability to go full speed cut, then go full speed again right away. I saw it every day in practice. We played live. You could never get a clean shot on Gale. Never.
Now, his career was cut short because he tore his ACL. Is that right?
Knee injuries. Yeah. He had the first injury.
He just didn't have any type of correction at that point in time.
Yep. It was a right knee and then a left knee.
He also has a bobblehead from 2 different teams. He has a bobblehead when the Bears did their 100-year anniversary franchise. And then when Wrigley Field had their anniversary, they did Wrigley Field Legends, not just Cub Legends. And there is a Cubs or Wrigley Field Gale Sayers bobblehead, and they are both fucking fantastic. Now, the Gale Sayers one also shares Dick Buckus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
They're both fantastic.
Yeah, unfortunately, he passed away from dementia, more than likely the result of his playing career, too, towards the end. That dude was
Think about this.
Great
the
pick.
Bears got
Great pick.
Butkus and Sayers in the same draft.
Yep. And Piccolo. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and Piccolo too, yes.
And Piccolo.
Yeah, the story goes that Papa Bear Hallis used to use them against each other to leverage their contracts. He would say, people don't come. He would tell Dick Buckus, people don't come to see you play defense. They come to see Gale Sayers run offense. And he would tell Gale Sayers, people don't come to see you run the ball. They come to see Dick Buckus hit people, to kind of play out them against each other to make their contracts more affordable for the team, which is kind of a shitty mood. But, I mean, Papa Bear Hallis.
Great pick. Yeah, he was a tool. Great pick, though, Fids.
Yeah, that's perfect. I was up there. I think he was like number 7 or 8 on my list, actually.
I couldn't go all Cubs. Jeez. I could, theoretically, but I didn't want to.
No, I'm sorry. Sayers was number 6 on mine. Yeah. All right, let's go with me. I am going to go with, now this is an emotional pick here. This guy broke my heart. Huge Bulls fan up until probably the last 6 or 7
Why
years.
did he forget to tip you?
Yeah. You sure did.
Sure did. Thanks for bringing up, asshole.
I'm going Derrick Rose here.
Wasn't
here a very long time, but he put a big print in the
wow.
Yeah, I'm not picking the best. I'm picking.
No, I don't think that's a terrible pick at all. I'm just surprised Rose went before Scottie Pippen.
I thought about Scottie Pippen as well, but you just ruined the draft. No, I'm kidding.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, he was just magnificent, and I even made a comment today on Twitter that Justin Fields is football Derrick Rose. Hopefully
not.
God, I hope not.
Hopefully he doesn't have a 10 cent. Hopefully he doesn't have a 10-cent head like Derrick Rose does, and hopefully he's not hanging out with B.J. Armstrong and his brother? You know,
it was his brothers, man. It was
Reggie.
never BJ. It was his brothers.
yeah, his brother was a piece of
Still
work,
is
man.
a piece of work.
But yeah, the way that guy was just jumping over people and putting, and I mean, it did upset me a little bit when he didn't want to help recruit some people here, but at the same time, I don't think
What happened when he went to New York, Brian? He's like, oh, I'm gonna recruit now.
I don't think that recruiting is his job. Like I love that attitude. He's like, no, fuck it. I want to beat LeBron. I want to beat Chris Bosh.
I did it, but it wasn't going to happen. It was. I mean, it's the era is the super team, and
but when your boy like Joe Kim is trying to recruit Carmelo Anthony come here and like he sets it up for a dinner, and you know that Joe Kim's your man, $100,000, and he's trying to recruit somebody, and then you just fucking don't show up. That's kind of bogus.
I don't think he was. I don't think Derrick Rose has ever. I mean, now he speaks very passionately and he's very honest with everybody. But back then, I don't think he cared, and I also don't think that he just not a bright human being in general. So, but
not a great human being either.
Oh yeah, I know.
What are you talking about? He's the one who took that test for Memphis.
Right, exactly. Exactly. That's what when I say not the brightest guy in the world. Yeah. When a 5'8" white dude walks in to take his ACT, you know.
It's like straight out of the Sopranos episode, season 2, episode 1.
Christopher Moltisanti.
Christopher?
Little Asian guy.
Yeah. I can vividly remember when he got drafted. Like I was in a group chat with a bunch of my fraternity brothers and like a bunch of basketball people. And they were so pissed we took Derrick Rose over Beasley.
Over Michael Beasley? They were pissed?
And I'm like, what are you guys smoking? Like, apparently they were smoking whatever Beasley was smoking because...
People thought Michael Beasley was going to be like Karl Malone. And it was, that... If he had been good, him and Wade together would have been just bonkers. But yeah, that guy just... $1 million talent, another guy with 10-cent head.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with the pick. I think Derrick Rose is a Chicago icon because he's probably one of the only players besides Buckus that's actually from Chicago.
Whitney Young,
Simeon.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, he went to Simeon, bro.
I ruined it all.
Yeah.
But man, that's wow. Okay, I like.
Wasn't he the last player to wear number 25 there?
Well, no, everybody wears 25. Every great player at Simeon wears 25.
Wasn't he the last guy to wear number 25 at Simeon?
Everyone wears 25 because that was Benji's number.
But I thought they stopped that again.
I don't think they have. I think
But I thought they stopped that.
It's like number 1 at Michigan. Like the best player gets to wear that number.
And they retired it in 2009. Yeah.
Jabari Parker didn't wear that number.
Simeon did. Okay.
I got an article up from 2009.
Didn't Jabari go to Duke?
Yeah, but Jabari was from Simeon too.
Yeah, Jabari went to Simeon.
Yeah.
I don't know what number he wore at Simeon.
Because Nick Anderson wore 25 throughout his career as a tribute to Ben Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nick Anderson.
And I can say Ben.
Which also, by the way, if you've never seen that ESPN 30 for 30,
woo, the Magic one or the Ben Wilson one?
No, the Benji Wilson one.
Ben Wilson.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man. Well, I guess we can go to me. This is a tough one for me because I was gonna go with certain somebody, but now I don't want to go with them because Derrick Rose is picked already. I'm gonna go with the person who is claimed to be the greatest Chicago offseason acquisition as a free agent, but it's definitely Marion Hossa in my opinion. But he comes in second in my heart. That's John Lester. If anything, he kind of solidified the Theo Epstein era of they're going for it. They have the core of Rizzo and Bryant and Baez and Contreras. They're going to build this team, and this was like the first big fish they got. And without him, I don't see the Cubs winning anything. He was very productive in 15, 16, 17, and 18, and even 19. If you throw that out there, he started to deteriorate in terms of stuff, but he still battled in every game. And I mean, he's got over 200 wins as a lefty. So total not lights out in the playoffs. So I would go with John Lester.
Good one. Yeah, I
And a
mean,
great
just
pickoff move.
just on playoff and World Series stuff alone, that guy's a legend.
What he symbolized was the beginning of a very, very special, little bit half decade plus of Cubs baseball. So, but when people talk about certain free agents, Andre Dawson with the blank the blank check, you can talk about Sam. Sammy wasn't really, he was an acquisition, so I guess that wouldn't really count. But there really is no signing that impacted and produce the result that was intended upon signing, which is to win a World Series and that damn curse. And then John Lester was what's the word I'm trying to think of, the starter's gun for that whole thing. And he's just a good dude, genuinely good dude. Just a lot of stuff, catalyst, yeah, a lot of he did a lot of stuff around the community too. He's really well liked in the Cubs community. I know he does a lot of charity work, and what didn't he buy everybody a beer one day? Like anybody,
yeah,
on him, like just little things like that.
He ran a tab, I think, across the street.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what killed me about the Cubs being good. It wasn't that they were good. It was, I mean, it kind of like softened the blow of them being good because a lot of those guys were actually good guys.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was like, as a White Sox fan, it was really hard to dislike
the
players on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or it hurt to like them, excuse me.
Totally. So, it's just a big impact in terms of what he's done. And then for my snake wraparound pick, I am going to go with Zippin' Pippin himself, Scottie Pippen. He's a little crazy these days, but
he's a nut.
We were really blessed growing up, at least I was, to see the greatest player of all time play, and then one of the top 50 players to be with him as his sidekick. They were Batman and Robin. Scottie came into his own when he went to Portland. But just for his defense and those 2 years where he took over when Michael wasn't there showed, he had a lot of talent. It was kind of like a swan song when he came back to the Chicago Bulls, even though he did it for money, but it was kind of cool to see him come back in his later years. You always think, when you think of Jordan, you can't think of Jordan without Pippen, and seeing those pictures of them and the two three-peats. So Scottie definitely a GOAT.
Best or second best perimeter defender in the history of the game, in my opinion. The other one being Michael Jordan. Guy could just do everything. Yeah, I mean,
Tex Winter called them both Rottweilers.
Yeah, that was like the whole reason they won. I mean, obviously offensively they were both pretty gifted, but those two locking up the perimeter, like you couldn't do anything, just nothing. And
I think he struggled too. He hated the Batman and Robin thing. He hated being Robin.
Oh yeah,
man, that really was a shadow that he would never. I mean, and you can't. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's also. I mean, appreciate what you had. You was a GOAT of GOATs.
His ego was also that Tony Kukoc thing with 1.8 seconds.
I was just about to mention that.
it was a whole thing.
Yeah,
that
forever. That's forever.
That leaves a little bit of a stain on his legacy, but not enough for me to be like he doesn't belong in this conversation.
Yeah, that's why I think when he went to Portland, it kind of showcased him a little bit more because he was leading that young, Stoudemire, Smith, Brian Grant
should have won a title.
Yeah, they should have won.
That team was so good.
Yeah,
the Jailblazers. Yep.
That team should have beat the Lakers, but should woulda coulda.
There were a couple teams that should have beat that. There was Kings that one year. Oh my God!
The Timberwolves team not win
1 year? Yep.
Yeah, but I think they were up by 15 in the fourth, and Mike Dunleavy never called a timeout when the Lakers started to go on a run. So I remember that game vividly. I was a big fan of the Portland Trail Blazers just for Scottie alone, him and Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, Stoudemire was great too. He fell apart fast though. When he lost his athleticism, all he was like a 5'9" point guard. At that
Definitely.
Point. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead here. God, you guys got me thinking about shit now. I'm gonna read you guys a song real quick, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pick. The sack man's coming. I'm your man, Dent. If the quarterback's slow, it's gonna get bent. I go Richard Dent. Richard Dent is the best pass rusher I've ever seen in my life. Now, you could call it him being part of a group that was just ungodly in terms of their line, in terms of linebackers. But that guy knew how to get there. He knew how to go. Joe Theismann used to say in the middle of the night, he'd wake up in a cold sweat because he saw Richard Dent Like he's sleeping and he just jump out of bed because he thinks that's his nightmare is Richard Dent going after him all the time.
So I wonder what he thinks now, Lawrence Taylor.
Right?
I would think it'd be Lawrence Taylor.
That's me too. But yeah, he was asked in an interview a couple years ago, and he said Richard Dent is the scariest motherfucker I ever saw in my life.
But I think the only reason that Richard Dent doesn't have more sacks is because he shared that defensive line with other great legends and names. Otherwise,
the linebackers were getting in there too.
Yeah,
You got
otherwise his name would be higher up on that list.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Thank you. Let's keep going here. Let's Cave Fitz, what do you got?
Well, you knew this was coming, so I figured I'd wait to the last round.
I knew. I was waiting for this.
I have to. I mean, I've known the kid since he was 13 years old.
I knew it.
Oh yeah.
MVP of
Dude,
the
this was
first Cubs World Series team to win a first Cubs team to win a World Series in 108 years.
Javi Baez?
Javi
Baez?
His horse mouth. But a kid that I got to see develop, and to be honest, when he was coming up, none of us kids ever say that we saw what was really headed down the line, an MVP World Series thing. I mean, it played out so incredibly well. I mean, for me, obviously the personal connection. Yep. Joking with him the year before, during the draft, the year before, him and I were texting, and it was when the two pitchers went in the first two, and we were talking about just how strange it was.
Appel was one, right?
Yeah, Appel, yeah, and we were just talking about, hey man, this could be you next year. And he's like, yeah, all good things, right? And a year later, I was actually driving to Colorado. We were under the belief that he was going to be taken by the Rockies, and so he was. That was our expectation. I had no, the Cubs. I thought the Cubs were going to take. I think it was an arm or something like that. And so I'm actually on the way to Colorado. So I'm like, this is going to be sweet. He's going to get drafted 3rd overall with the Rockies. I'm going to be in Denver and in Boulder, and I'm going to be able to puff my chest out and have people buy me drinks or something. And we go through this dead spot, and they go, and with the second pick in the 2000 and what was it, 2013, 14 draft 13, or whatever.
Yeah, 13.
We're like, the Chicago Cubs select, and then we ran out of service. We were in Green River, Utah. Nothing. No signal. Phones are dead all of a sudden, like nothing for about maybe 6 minutes, I'd say. Maybe 6 minutes. And then when we get service again, ding, 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 so many messages and everything. I'm like, holy shit, what's going on here? And it was all our coaching staff and everyone going, holy crap, it's the Cubs. And I'm like, oh, what? So obviously immediately that whole Colorado trip was just me enjoying that. So just getting to see him grow and seeing that whole thing kind of unfold and going to see it. I got to go see him play in New Orleans when he played for the Iowa Cubs, and it was kind of a cool doubleheader. Yeah. At one point, when he played here with the Cubs, during the pandemic, right before the pandemic shut down, 2020, we delayed the game by accident, hanging out in front of the dugout, talking and just shooting the shit, just because he's a good guy. He's, more things about Chris the draft is not the fact that he's also a great performer. He's a very good ball player. He's also a quality human being. I mean, I can actually attest to the kind of person that he is firsthand. It's not some sort of PR marketing firm, a marketing kind of campaign. Chris Bryant is exactly the nice human being, the genuine human being that you guys see on television. That makes it an easy pick for me. He'd have been my number one pick if it wasn't such a cliche. I had to wait to the last pick, but I don't really know many humans that are as genuinely amazing people as he is, and the kind of guy that is a good teammate and can be, can get frustrated from time to time. He does have resting bitch face. I can call him out on resting bitch face on occasion. But I also could say I'm the only guy that's ever benched KB for not hustling. I benched him once in high school, and only time I think he's ever been benched before. And I kind of lit into him a little bit. So that's the pick. Love him. He's again.
I knew it was going to happen eventually, right?
Yeah, he's the dude.
But he's one of those guys, just like going back to.
I actually forgot all about it.
I was thinking about picking him just to fuck with.
I mean, just going back to like Lester, about how like the guys on the teams, on those Cubs teams, were so likable, and he was one of them. I mean, from my perspective, from a White Sox side of things, I liked the guy. I never thought it was a PR thing with him or Rizzo or Lester. I thought Zobrist was a cool cat, but yeah, that's a good pick, man.
I think it's a horrible pick.
It's terrible.
Shut your mouth.
Shut your face.
Just shut your mouth.
I'm a little disappointed. I only see 3 White Sox on here. Yeah, you gonna change that, Svo?
No, I'm not actually.
Oh,
I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good.
I have one or two that would go into my if there was another round list, but
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna go back to the ice, and I'm gonna get the fellow Slovak, Hossa, Makita, Svoboda. We're all Czech Polacks, so I'm going Stan Makita.
Dan Makita's Donuts.
Makita's Donuts.
Yeah.
You know, just like Fizz's pick with Ernie Banks. My dad's favorite hockey player of all time. It's who he grew up watching. It wasn't that wife beater Bobby Hull. It was Stan Mikita. It was Stosh. That was the player that my dad idolized as a kid, and what got him into Blackhawks hockey. And then he kind of sent that love of hockey over to me. Even though the team that got me into hockey was actually the San Jose Sharks. But Stan Mikita, I think, is a Chicago sports icon, and he absolutely deserves to be on my draft board.
Now you definitely had a San Jose Sharks starter jacket, correct?
I never had a Shark starter jacket, man.
That was the only reason I like the Sharks, man.
I had one.
I had a Charlotte Hornets one.
I had one of those too.
It was the Hornets one, and I was like,
okay.
And then my second one was the Anaheim Mighty Ducks one. So, but
apparently the manager at Stan Mikita's Donuts murdered somebody. So
yes, and so to see his soul leave his body,
leave his body.
Yeah,
but no, Stan Mikita, I think, is in the upper echelon of Blackhawks greats. You know, it's the four guys. It's Stan Mikita. It's Patrick Kane. You know, unfortunately, it's still Bobby Hull. And you know, you can substitute who you want, Jeremy Roenick or Jonathan Taves, but Makita definitely belongs up there.
Excellent. Okay, last pick. What do you got, Mr. Hand?
I cannot believe this pick is still out there. This pick, I would argue, rivals Michael Jordan for his importance. He's number 7 in your program, but number
Ben
1
Gordon?
when it comes to the NFL. George Halas. Without George Halas, there probably is not an NFL.
There's not an NFL.
I thought about that one.
It's also his fault that the Green Bay Packers exist too.
Yeah,
so
I thought you were going to go with
that
Butterbean.
is true.
I thought you were going Butterbean Bob Love.
You said number 7. I was like Ben Gordon or Tony Kukoc.
He also played for the Yankees.
It could be Chris Chelios.
George Halas.
Anderson.
But Chelios is a Red Wing and he's dead to me.
But
when you talked about the importance, I thought you were going with Downers Grove's own Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh yeah. Former Cincinnati Red.
I never realized he was from Downers Grove.
Snap it to a Slim Jim.
Yep,
Well,
grew up in
but
Downers Grove High School. He
There
actually
is no
played in the
NFL without
Cardinals
George
series.
Halas.
It's true.
Yep, totally true.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, Papa Bear Halas.
So, got to go with George Halas.
That's not a terrible pick. Oh, Travis Kelce. Oh, what are you doing? I'm sorry.
Okay, so next I wanted to just...
that's not good.
What's going on?
That looked like a Bears play from last week.
I'm behind.
I made a big list, so I just want to read off some names that we didn't pick, just so we give them a little bit of props. We got a couple of legendary Bears linebackers: Mike Singletary, Brian Urlacher, Dan Hampton. That was a good one. Let's go over to the White Sox. We got Harold Baines.
Ken W.O.'s gonna be upset.
We got Minnie Minoso. We got Paul Canerco, who some of us met recently. Jose Abreu, Robin Ventura.
Pito.
Best Robin Ventura, best manager ever. And then,
Terry Bevington takes that one.
Yep. I don't know, man. Ventura just had no idea what the hell he was doing all the time.
Bevington called in pitchers who weren't warming up. Bevington argued with umpires and let the other manager sway his opinion.
Yeah, but didn't Terry Bevington have like a winning record? I think he did.
I think it was like 500.
You guys are still
I think he was like 500.
That was a team that was built to win, though. That was the problem, and he couldn't get it home. A couple more Bears that we forgot. Devin Hester.
Oh yeah,
I forgot, but didn't pick. Steve McMichael, Wilbur Marshall, Peanut Tillman, Lance Briggs, Olin Kreutz. You mentioned Bobby Hull. Chris Chelios, couple of pricks.
He's a redhead.
And then with the Cubs,
Tony
forgot Mark Grace, of course.
Yeah,
Maddox.
Gracie's a good pick.
Greg Maddux would have been a good one.
Gracie would have been a good pick.
I forgot on the Bears, got Bronco Nagurski, wrestling legend as well. A lot of Bulls. Horace Grant, Tony Kukoc.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah.
Johnny Redker. Johnny
His
Redker.
voice. I'll
Those
never
correct?
forget. Yeah.
So that's what we got for undrafteds. Now I wanted to also do a quickie little round here of before we wrap up of players that didn't quite deserve to be selected, but we have a personal attachment to. So just a quick like minute on each one here. Aloha, Mr. Hand, if you want to go first.
Sure. It's a tough one because I
Yep,
could think
it
of a
is.
couple. And one that immediately comes to mind is a player who I really like, but I don't see him on this. And you just mentioned him, as a matter of fact. That being Jeremy Roenick. I think Roenick was a very good player, but I don't put him in like the GOATs category.
Took him to the finals, right?
I think it was more Chris Chelios,
to get
Steve
swept
Smith,
by the
and
Penguins.
Eddie the Eagle before he got hurt that
Belfour,
took
yeah.
him to the finals.
That Hawks team, like they had Eddie the Eagle as the starter and Dominic Hasek as your backup.
And they traded Dominic Hasek.
Yeah, but Dominic Hasek wasn't as good. He wasn't as good as Eddie Belfour at the time.
No, but saying though, just
I
to have
hated that
two Hall of Fame goalies is ridiculous.
Yeah, I hated that trade at the time, and I hate it more today. Because I was not the biggest Belfour fan. I felt he was a whiny bitch.
I loved Eddie.
The best thing about Eddie, I remember, is like when he was playing for Dallas, like I saw it on Sports. I'll always remember this. Is they show a clip of him putting his stick between somebody's legs and just pulling it up and hitting the guy in the nuts. And the guy just falls to the floor, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I think he got ejected for that." But I just vividly remember him doing that. I'm like, "Holy shit, Eddie Belfour, don't fuck around."
All right, so what do you got?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. If I gotta go with someone, I'm gonna get some shit for this. Maybe not, but I'm gonna go with Ronnie Fields. And I know that's a name you're like who the hell are you talking about? Ronnie Fields is the greatest Chicago high school basketball player of all time, and his career was cut short because of a car accident and a neck injury. And he was signed to play at DePaul, and he would have been an absolute legend.
I would argue with that from one point. I think it's Ben Wilson, not Ronnie Fields.
No, Ronnie Fields
and cut short. I mean, Ben Wilson tragically cut short as well.
Ronnie Fields could jump out of a gym, and even Kevin Garnett was like, "I've never played with a dude as good as Ronnie Fields."
You know what's funny about those Farragut teams? They never won the state. They never won state, and it had Garnett and Ronnie Fields on it.
We were one game away from playing Farragut. Actually, we lost to Buffalo Grove.
I'm pretty sure Hersey played Farragut. My sister's senior year, which was Garnett's senior year. Yeah.
1994.
1994, yeah. I think they played Hersey in like the Elite Eight or something.
Yeah, we lost in the super sectional title game to what's it called? Buffalo Grove. And then we actually had signs that were like bring on Garnett. Everyone was ready for that one. They were good, but they didn't win.
Yeah, it was kind of strange with all the talent they had because they had another guy on that team. I can't remember the name. There's a third guy that
Michael Wright.
Yeah, okay. You remember everything.
Basketball is my first love.
Right. All right, K-Fitz, what do you got? Oh, I'm sorry, Pete. What do you got?
Oh, I was going to say, I was fortunate enough to see those legendary King teams with like Marcus Liberty. I got to see the Flying Illini before they went to Illinois.
King always had like a 9-foot tall monster on those teams. They really didn't they have like
that's because Leon Cox was like heavily recruiting.
Yes,
there was one guy that was just.
And it's funny because you had Hambrick at, I hope that's how you pronounce it. It's Hambrick, right? At Simeon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And who was, I know how this is going to sound. He was very classy, very, And then you had Landon Cox at King, who was just like the used car salesman.
Absolutely.
All right, Fids, what do you got, buddy?
All right. I'm going to go with someone that was an icon.
Chris Bryant.
And someone that was such a badass that at one point at training camp, he had to call his fiance and said, look, we're going to have to change the date of our wedding because we're going to go to the Super Bowl, and that's on January 26th. He's a two-time second team All-Pro. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's an NFL scoring leader. He's the first ever kicker inducted in College Football Hall of Fame. Yeah, we're going with Butthead, Kevin Butler. The man, he was, 10 years as a Bear kicker. He was as consistent every Sunday as someone that just everybody loved. He loved to lay some stick if he could. If there was an opportunity for him to hit somebody on something, he would. And that kind of made him a little bit more of a kind of a fun guy, but he's hilarious. Butthead was Butthead, man. So I'm going to go with Butthead.
I love that pick. Kevin Butler used to do like a weekly radio show with his name was Kevin Matthews, and he was on WLUP, and he had this character Jim Shorts, and Kevin Butler used to come on there.
Shorts, right.
Yep. Right. Like my dad loved Jim Shorts, and
my dad too.
I always remember Butthead's segments on that. That's a great pick, Fids.
I actually met him once. Jim McMahon opened a restaurant in Des Plaines or Park Ridge area, and my cousin was actually the head chef there. So we got to go to the opening, and me and one of my buddies just walked in there, and we ate dinner, and next thing you know, like the whole 85 team is there, and the only guy we ended up actually talking to was Kevin Butler for like 10 seconds, but he seemed very inviting and very nice.
Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah.
I can go with mine. So this is a player that was not really gonna knock your socks off in terms of stats, but he had some decent years, and he was one of my favorite players I saw growing up, and I was extremely excited when he got traded to the Chicago Cubs because he played on the other side of the town, and that's Lance One Dog Johnson. Was a huge
Triton grad.
Huge fan of Lance One Dog Johnson. Loved his nickname. Loved the number one. When he got traded to the Cubs from the Mets, I was so damn excited because I'm like, damn, we got One Dog. Like, I loved him with the Sox. And when he left to New York, I was like kind of upset because I still like to watch him on the Sox broadcast. But then when he came back to the Cubs, I was really, really happy to have him.
He actually had a bat that was like a 31 or 32 inch, and it was like 60 ounces. Like it was a beast of it. Like it was so heavy loaded for being such a short,
such a little guy. Yeah. That's funny. He what I remember about him is he had the worst arm I've ever seen in the outfield. Like I'm not bullshitting around.
No, you're not.
That guy had like no arm at all, and it was just funny because it kind of just speaks volumes to what the White Sox are still dealing with right now. Anyway, I'm gonna go with mine real quick. I'm gonna go. Joakim Noah is probably my favorite basketball player of all time. Just a guy that didn't have, I don't want to say the talent, but he was a 7-footer. He knew how to use his body so well to get angles for rebounds. It was almost like Rodman, defense and angles, and I loved watching that energy that guy brought. He's running up and down the floor. When he started to when he had to play almost play like point guard for a while, he was just so much fun to watch. And it was a guy that he couldn't shoot, he couldn't do a whole lot offensively, but he made it work.
Former defensive player of the year.
Yeah, just a hell of a guy.
It's funny because I think there's still two names out there that we could go with: Dennis Rodman being one, and McMahon being the other.
Funky quarterback, funky QB Nick McMahon, man. Yeah, I was thinking about him too, but I just went with One Dog for my own personal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You could go with Johnny Taves. Johnny Taves wasn't really mentioned in terms of his impact. Tony Amonte, if you want to go back to when the Hawks sucked, Amonte was a big draw with them.
That was when they weren't very good though, right?
Yeah, that's when they were
Yeah,
bad.
we used to call him Black Hawk Down during the Tony Amonte era.
Or even you can go back to when the Bulls or like the baby Bulls when they had Ben Gordon and the captain Kirk Heinrich.
Ben Gordon now in trouble for fighting McDonald's employees.
Yeah, he's got some issues.
He's got some
punched
issues.
He punched his kid in the face at an airport. too.
Well,
We've all been there, Brian. Come on, man.
I don't know about that one, but I think he tried to set his apartment complex on fire too, like a couple of years ago. He's got some like serious issues.
Yeah, he's not well. But all right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I really appreciate you guys being on with me here. As you can tell,
I got a quick question, Brian. I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna
Yes,
let you
dear.
do your outro. Are we gonna do the players that we definitely don't want on this list? Like the players that we hate or like that don't belong on the Chicago Sports G.O.A.T list?
Yeah,
I know you mentioned
we could
it.
do that.
'Cause I got
We
one. I got one
That's
in mind.
fine. Yeah, go for it. Go for it, please.
All right, if I'm gonna kick it off, my least favorite Chicago Bear of all time, Rex Grossman. Not only did he
Sexy
cost us a Super
Rexy.
Bowl, but he went to Florida.
Rexy, Rexy.
Like, I remember just being so hurt after that Super Bowl. And Rex Grossman, if we had a competent quarterback in that Super Bowl, we win it. And he went to Florida. So sorry, Rexy, you're my least favorite Bear of all time.
The Bears are actually leading in that game. I think it's when they went to prevent defense is when they blew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you go up against Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl, you're not going to win.
So Ron Rivera, he screwed us.
They went up by a touchdown 10 seconds into the game.
Yeah. That was one of the craziest sports moments of my life, honestly. Like when that happened, I like ran into the wall. It was like Kool-Aid man to my parents' house.
My buddy Chris, he won $10K on that. He bet opening kickoff return for a touchdown in one of those Super Bowl props. Won $10,000.
How much did he bet?
I have a quick Rex Grossman story.
He just had to take. We're like, holy shit.
I was at Woodfield one day with my mother-in-law and my wife, and we're walking around and we're passing that. There's I don't know if it's still there anymore. There used to be a collectible store in there. I think it was called Field of Dreams, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a smoothie shop now.
And we're walking by it, and I guess Rex Grossman must have been signing autographs there because he walks by us. And my mother-in-law, who's like a huge Bears nerd, she points at him and screams, "Oh my God, it's Kyle Orton!" and Rex Grossman just turned around and he gave me this look, and he's like, and he just kept walking.
Throw a neck beard there too.
That was the original Bears argument, the Orton versus Grossman. Remember that?
Yes.
Orton was only better because he was like 8 inches taller. Rex Grossman was like Webster short.
Also, Rex Grossman had the hands of Kenny Pickett, but a little bit smaller.
Yeah, he was bad. I can go at mine. Mine is a Chicago Cub who was a horrible person and a horrible human being, and we found that out even later. And that's Milton Bradley. I remember him catching the ball and throwing it into the stands, not knowing how many damn outs are out there, and then basically blaming everybody for him sucking. Not to mention he's a domestic abuser.
And not a fan of the dinosaurs.
He was another one of those, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Carl Everettism.
Yeah.
Kooky Carl.
Yeah. Carl was
great. I mean, as easy for me would be to choose Ozzie Guillen as my choice. That would be fun. But I got to go with the trash basket that I believe is arguably the number one reason why the Cubs window during this after the World Series closed up, because he's a piece of shit human being, someone that doesn't hold back his restraint and gets physical with members of the fairer sex. He should be fired into the sun a million times. We were told he was the next Barry Larkin. He was really not even the next Barry Pepper. So I got to go with the trash basket, Addison Russell.
Did you just make a Barry Pepper reference?
Yeah, sometimes you got to throw a good old Barry Pepper out there.
Barry Pepper had some really good accuracy. Like
there's a guy that could have been on our Canadian episode that you and I are working on, Vince.
Canada.
Go Canada. Yeah. Get up there, eh? Over here. Get them beeps.
So is it me now?
Yes, questionable character for who?
Well, there's two names that immediately jump to mind, and they're both former members of the Southside team. But I got to go with Chris Sale, primarily because of all of the shit that went down in 2016. It started with the Drake LaRoche, and the other one was Adam Eaton, by the way. it started with the whole Drake LaRoche thing. Even though Chris Sale didn't call Drake LaRoche a leader, Adam Eaton did. But still, arguing about a little kid being asked not to be on the fucking field when players are there makes no goddamn sense. Second, there's the whole incident in Seattle where they would not give the clubbies their tip money. Don't believe me? Look up the Ken Rosenthal article about it, because they didn't like the way the Mariners changed the policy towards the clubbies. So what? You hold their fucking money, you cheap bastards? And then there's the jersey cutting incident. I really wish that Chris Sale would have been around in the 80s to do that, because I am sure he would have had a broken fucking jaw doing shit like that in the clubhouse.
The Bull would have got him.
Oh, the Bull, Kittle, Fisk, all those guys would have beat the holy hell out of him.
Hey,
And
Pete,
yes,
the wrong guy walked out of that locker room.
what's that?
That was Chris Sale's quote. When Kenny Williams and Drake LaRoche, when they kicked LaRoche, like the wrong guy walked out of that locker room.
Yeah. So for all the damage he did in 2016, and again, the White Sox were a flawed team in 2016. They were operating under their hope methodology. Hope for health. Hope everyone stays healthy. Hope that the division comes back to you. Hope that everyone has a career year. They were totally operating under that model. I get it. But the actions of him and of Eaton derailed that season so fast and so furiously it wasn't funny.
Just look at what he did when he was in Boston. He tore up a clubhouse over the guy's got psychological issues.
You break a TV or something?
He tore up the whole locker room in a minor league ballpark.
And you don't do that. And when you're a veteran, that's the last thing you do is do shit like that in front of the kids.
And you're a fucking pitcher, for God's sakes. Why are you throwing punches?
He also has one gigantic arm and one really skinny one.
You're getting paid $30 million to act like a fucking child. That's basically
Yellow Pages commercials.
Yeah.
Not to mention the stupid stories about him falling and hurting his hand when he was washing his truck.
Yes.
I'm totally with you. Chris Sale is probably my least favorite White Sox that's not named Adam Dunn.
Oh,
See, mine would be a different Adam. It would be Adam Eaton, just because he also participated in all of that shit going on in 2016. And I'll say one more thing about Chris Sale. This was a guy who was paid to appear at Picnic in the Park. Now, I understand it's a team event. It's part of your requirement in your contract.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? It sucks. I get it. But fucking deal with it. You only have to sit there and sign for the fans for an hour, right?
Again, you're getting paid millions of dollars to do shit like that.
And he gets up and leaves before the time is up, leaving 30, 40 people in the lurch, standing in line waiting to get his autograph. He says, fuck it, I'm done, and leaves. Fuck you.
Well, my pick, I was thinking Swisher. I fucking hated Swisher when he was here. I was also thinking David Wells, because that guy was a fucking piece of shit when he was here. I'm going to go another way. And what year was it? Give me one sec here. In 2001, the Chicago Bulls decided to give $30 million to the most worthless piece of shit human being that ever played in the Chicago Bulls.
Eddie Robinson.
It was Eddie fucking Robinson.
I know it.
That guy did absolutely nothing but bitch and moan and make up injuries and just didn't want to be there, didn't want to play basketball. And we're all fucking waiting. We had to deal with Dickie Simpkins' year, and then we had to deal with Kukoc getting traded for John Starks and
Roger Mason Jr.
And then they're going to trade Elton Brand eventually. Get the fuck out of here. You're going to give us this guy. It's same thing with Ron Mercer, but Eddie Robinson was just worthless.
Ron Mercer got you Jalen Rose, though.
Well,
that was Dickie Simpkins used to come out to Judson all the time, and we would play pickup basketball on Sunday nights out in our gym at Judson. Dickie he rolled up in his little gray Porsche, and we'd all ball out. A bunch of guys from the team would just go in there and we'd just play it. Dickie was incredibly hilarious. Side note.
I was on with Carrie and Steve-O on Leo on the South Side.
That guy sucks.
And I made a Dickie Simpkins reference, and he
Gary.
just started laughing because Dickie Simpkins actually lived in his neighborhood growing up, and he said he was like so mean to everybody. Like, people would walk up to him, ask for autographs and shit like that, and he was not a nice dude.
Can you imagine asking for Dickie Simpkins' autograph?
Right, exactly.
Dude, he was a G League. He was a G League superstar.
Dickie Simpkins and being being annoyed with someone asking for your autograph.
Right. Like,
Right.
"Hey, excuse me, Dickie, can I have your autograph?"
Hey, pal. Nah.
Eddie Robinson, though, like Eddie Robinson was in that era when, like,
Those teams
Eddie
were bad.
Curry and Tyson Chandler and like it was the baby Bulls, and you thought it was just gonna be like lights out, and it just never happened.
Ryan, me and my brother went to a Bulls game. It's when they had Roger Mason Jr. We always used to make fun of how bad the Bulls were.
Armace, baby.
And Eddie Robinson started. I think he played like 37 minutes, and he had 1 point. And my brother's like, "This guy fucking sucks. He only has 1 point." Like, yeah, he was brutal.
They actually cut him with like 12 million left on his deal, and that back then that's a lot of money. That's before.
Well, for any Jerry Reinsdorf owned team, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. That one hurt. That one hurt. That one hurt.
Yikes. Well, this ended up being pretty fantastic, guys. I really appreciate you being on here with me. I appreciate everything you guys have done for me to get this off its feet. I can't explain how much I appreciate it. This is something I've wanted to do for a very long time. Going even back to when I was younger, out of high school, I wanted to go to broadcast school and do something like this. So even just to do this on a small level, it's a fucking treat for me, and I can't thank you guys enough. So moving forward, I'm going to try to do weekly or bi-weekly episodes just to let everybody that's listening. The next one is going to involve Thanksgiving foods. We're going to draft Thanksgiving foods. I assume that's going to be a shorter episode than this one, but we're not going to have any.
Somebody's going to argue the merits of cranberries.
Right. We're not going to talk about how cranberries were shooting up steroids and corking bats and start screaming at each other. So,
but is it stovetop?
Those turkeys get kind of big though, bro.
I was planning on actually making. I was going to make White Castle stuffing and eat it while we're recording.
Shit, now I'm hungry.
Right?
So, that sounds so good right now.
But anyway, guys.
Thanks a lot, dickhead. I'm at like 1,500 calories a day. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, buddy.
I'm just kidding. I love you all.
I love you too. And
I hope
really
you're
appreciate
doing a bad Christmas song just so Mariah Carey can get another
That's a
number
great
one in her
idea. I know that.
book.
I know Yumper and Spo and I have talked about doing a Christmas movie one, but that's a fantastic idea. I'm gonna have my wife sing the Yoko parts of Give Peace a Chance or whatever in the background.
The song should go, "All I want for Christmas is you to shut the fuck up, Mariah."
How do you really feel?
Right? You want to hear something hilarious? Look up Bad Religion Christmas. They made an album a couple of years ago, and it's terrible and fantastic at the same time. But
hey, Brian, can I just ask a quick question real quick?
Yes, darling.
Where can we find this podcast?
This podcast will be available. Obviously, this recording will be on YouTube, and then we're going to be on. I'll be on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify.
Cool. And where can we go to follow you to get information about the latest podcast?
You can follow me on Twitter at Gettin GETTIN Drafty Pod at Gettin Drafty Pod. You could also follow me my personal account at Magnificent Stan, as you see on the recording here. And yeah, we're gonna do many more of these, and I look forward to getting better at this because this was a little rocky for me starting. So
first one's in the books.
Hey, that's the fun of it.
Hey, it's never pretty that first time. Sometimes it's a storybook. Sometimes it's the parking lot outside the fitness center listening to the Christmas Macarena.
Sometimes it's an hour and 50 minutes, and sometimes it's 37 seconds during a rerun of The Office.
There you go. Well, hopefully
after your 100th episode.
One thing for sure though, It might be your first time, but this is an hour and 50. Usually the first time is a lot shorter.
Well, I got good dance partners here, buddy.
Yeah, you'll listen after your 100th episode. You'll listen to this and go, "Oh my God, what the hell was I thinking?
What the fuck was I thinking?" Well, thank you, and we'll be back. Thank you.
Buddy, don't wait for me.
All right.